Nice.
Yep. What's
Nice,
going
it's
on?
kind of hard and stuff. Alright. I can't see you. Are you on video?
Yeah, it's probably because my recording program is using the camera. So I'll be there in the final one.
Cool, man. Cool.
So what's going on?
Just moving a tranny porn, making sure.
You know, that is one of the funniest headlines, like, especially after he gets, like, deplatformed off the internet. Part of me feels like, why are we bothering? Like, let Alex look at whatever weirdo shit he wants to. They've already tried to banish him from the web.
It's just Alex's face when callers bring it up. He's not happy about it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's been a bit weird this week. Like a couple of stories is how do I put this? I was meant to go to Amsterdam for a dabbing party. You know what dabbing is?
Yeah.
It concentrates. So I came across a bit of a dick. Like I didn't really know these people, and they said, "Oh well, why don't we all meet up outside Central Station and wait there for just between 12 and 1?" And I wrote back saying, "I don't think Central's a good place. I think you should go down the road to the Doubletree Hotel," which is basically when you go to Central Station, you turn left, you can just walk down this long footpath, and it's just kind of out of the way. And they're like, "Why are you saying that?" She's like, "I don't think Central's a place you want to be hanging around for obvious reasons, like Islam. Let's just go down the road to where the 5-star hotel is, and we'll meet there." And I just got hit with, "You're such a fucking racist, you're such a racist." So then I said, "I'll probably be best I don't go, because if you think that's bad, I only get worse."
Yeah.
The time and place they were meeting, guess what happened?
Acid attack?
An Islamist knifed 2 Americans
Wow.
because someone insulted Islam.
Well, that's did you hear about the story about the two...
It gets worse.
Well, I was just going to say
They
real
were-
quick, the story of the 2 people that went bike riding through some Muslim country and were like, "Oh, we're sure it'll be safe.
Oh.
We're going cross-country bike riding." And next thing you know, they end up dead.
And ISIS film it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know
Parade the bodies about.
I don't know how long and how many times shit like this has to go on until people understand that there's a
They're not
fundamental
going to
problem.
get it. They're not.
Yeah, you're probably right.
A children's concert, Jamie.
Yeah, you're right. Between
Yeah,
Ariana Grande
that's
and the
it.
other one,
Yeah, less than that. I can't. What else are they supposed to do? I don't know what else. Yeah. So anyway, when the attack happened, everyone's checking in, see if everyone's okay.
Uh-huh.
And then they were like, "Oh, what do you think it's about? What do you think it's about?" And I said, "Well, it's probably an Islamic attack." They just blocked me.
The truth is not not an easy pill for some to swallow.
I wasn't getting in their face going, "Oh, it was right."
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I don't...
I actually got blocked. So it's almost like that Sharia laws here.
Yeah.
You are complying with Sharia law right now.
Yeah, blasphemy. It's like blasphemy laws. They aren't officiated, but they're sort of culturally enforced. And it's one of the things where I think it's really weird where, when Jordan Peterson was on a talk show, they were talking to him about the gender pronoun things. And he was like, well, why can't we just do it like the N-word? Like, the N-word isn't illegal. It's just sort of shunned when people say it. It's a cultural thing. Sharia hasn't had to, the blasphemy laws haven't really had to be put into law, but people are just through social pressure terrified of criticizing Islam.
I know loads of people that are.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
The ones I let it go, where I completely let it go, when they say it to me, is if they are actually Muslim themselves. If they are actually Muslims themselves, and they say, "Paul, I can't, obviously it's dangerous, dude." That's the only time I let it go. When I know that they agree with me, but because of the community they're in.
Yeah.
A little bit tricky.
Well, and you know what's interesting? I just thought of is in my video I did about Marilyn Manson, I made a comment
That
about.
was a really good video.
I made a comment though about how he doesn't criticize Islam, and then to think about what I said at the end though, where it's like they take the same gimmick and just give it to different artists with a new sound. Lady Gaga wrote a song called Burqa, and
Well,
with her
yeah,
though, it
because
wasn't. It was her glorifying it and like talking about, oh, it's so mysterious, so sexy, like.
I'm going to come across as such a big-headed twat. We were having this giant debate. This is how this thing kicked off at kickboxing. It actually started off about the EU. It actually started about that. And I just kept trying to hammer home that the EU is a Nazi ideology. Bilderberg, all the people they were quoting in support of Europe were actually Bilderbergers.
Yeah.
So I thought it was important to point out that Bilderberg is this thing. So, God, I'm getting lost myself. So, the whole thing, the whole thing I wanted to say is one guy replied, and he was actually in the army. He was saying, well, Islam was our ally during World War II.
Yep.
What are you?
Well, no.
Insane?
Hitler tried aligning with Islam.
Islam has never been allied with the West. Ever.
Yeah, no,
like
no.
The Crusades.
Hitler tried aligning with it towards the end of World War II, though.
So then, I'll get to that. So then he sent me a link, and it had like Muslims fought with England in World War II. And I said, yeah, obviously Muslims did fight for England because England had allies. I'm sure there were just Muslims that happened to be living in England.
Yeah, British Muslims.
Probably it's just that. Like, that's not meaning Islam we were allied with them. They were allied with Hitler, and Hitler was allied with them because socialism and Islam are very similar.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I was going to say is, isn't it interesting how they are imagining Islam again as a nationality? Like you said, it was probably just British people who happen to be Muslim.
Yeah.
Like, it's like... Yeah, it'd be like saying, yes, Muslims fought with England on World War II. Yeah, so did Christian and Jews. But they were all British. Might have even been a few British Buddhists in the mix. Like, that's ridiculous.
No, Sikhs were a big deal.
Yeah.
They did recruit Sikhs and Gurkhas, but I don't remember Islam. And I can't imagine Islam fighting for England. And yes, like, how does your brain work?
Yeah. I mean, we did fund the U.S. did fund radical groups, including Bin Laden in the 70s, but that's years after World War II.
Yeah, so I started saying, hey, like, these are some of the links that you can go, because they're always the people like what qualifications they've got. You can only qualified people.
Yeah.
So some Harvard and Cambridge University, Nazism. I used the wrong word. I guess it's not similar to Nazism. They're compatible.
Yeah.
And the reason they're compatible, just for a couple of reasons. Obviously, they're very authoritarian. They hate Jews. But the main thing is like Jordan Peterson put so well, it's about the individual rights had gone in favour of the group. The group identity completely outweighs any individualism.
Well,
and
plus,
that's why Hitler thought he could work with that.
And plus, even like you were saying, they don't tolerate dissidents. Like, it's authoritative in that aspect, where it takes the authoritative stance to the individuals for trying to step out of line with the group collective.
And then it was like, I don't know much about anything. Like, I'm dumb, and if I'm explaining this to you, you really need to take a hard look at yourself. Because when I was younger, I was classed as dumb. So if I'm explaining this, but you should be able to, I don't think I'm being harsh, that when you're typing saying Islam was allied with World War II, with 0 links, sure, doesn't anything click in your brain, and that just does not make any sense.
Yeah.
Or am I being harsh? Does that...
No,
that's how people think these days.
I mean, I generally think these people have, it's sort of like that...
It's just they have to debunk. If anything comes into head to debunk, they don't just try and... It's just...
Yeah, well, it's all... the funny thing, I watched... This is sort of a off-topic thing, but I watched a video of Tim Pool this morning where he was talking about a study that was put out on a right-wing site, and he kept being like, well, it's right-wing, so it's biased, this and that, and it was about the growing trend in transgender diagnosis. Now, the instances they would have, though, would be like a school teacher would come out as trans, and then the 4 kids that were closest working with that teacher, all females, would then all of a sudden become trans, like say they were, like it's contagious or something like that. And it's like, so he's saying this site publishing it's biased, this and that. The trans community have said about this, and it's like, wait, that'd be like asking an alcoholic if drinking is healthy or not. Like, asking trans people their opinion, you're calling that biased? The site reporting on a study is biased, but the people involved in this stuff, and the thing is with the whole trans issue, they fight it tooth and nail because it's all built on a web of lies. The way to debunk it is right in what they say. Gender is a social construct. Social construct is a stereotype. So that's why it's contagious. It's based on ideology, not a mental condition. Not at this point, anyway.
I've got, you know when people say that there are full criminals? You know when people say, like, you're a full criminal? You should be a full criminal, like you should be arrested for having a fault.
Yeah.
I've had one of those faults. Do you want to hear it? I don't know if I should be arrested for this.
Sure, what is it?
Can you check it out? I can't believe I'm saying this. I could go to jail for this. It's really bad. But I kind of like... I'm too scared to like research it because I know I don't want to be right. Okay. First of all, I'm not Hitler. I want to point out. All of this would be voluntary, of course. But you know Stefan Molyneux, here's one of his arguments. I would say it's fair to say that homosexuality as a whole, got to generalise, is because of basically child abuse. Is that fair? It's because they were probably introduced to something they shouldn't have been introduced to at a young age, i.e. a young boy was touched by a man, whether it's whatever happened, and that created the sexual preference.
I think there is that. I think there's also fatherlessness, and there's also things they've shown, like Dave Rubin had on a really good sex researcher who's like against gender fluidity and all that stuff, but she says part of it too is there's a stress hormone that's given out to the baby in utero, and that is one of the things where it's like if a kid's been hit with this stress hormone while they're being developed, it's more likely they will end up being gay, bisexual, or whatever. But I mean, it's not set in stone because like women, they find, are very sexually fluid, where it's like, what's the phrase, lesbian until graduation or something like that. You have girls who in college and high school will experiment and mess around with other girls.
I think it's different for girls because obviously they're at risk of being impregnated, so I could understand more lesbian making sense because it's safer.
Yeah. And again, some of it's just them experimenting and stuff like that. But it's a variety of factors. I would say child abuse is in there, and it's the one that people want to fight against the most.
Which is what you were saying earlier with the transgender teacher, that it's not contagious, it's just they're so impressionable. What do you expect?
Yeah.
I mean, I could have converted them to Scientology, right?
Pretty much. That's what I gather from it.
I reckon I could do that. I wouldn't do that, but I reckon I could.
But I mean, this wasn't even young kids. This was like high school age kids. And the other thing that was aggravating was Tim Pool during the whole video was like, this can't be, because why would people be choosing a harder way of life? And it's like Caitlyn Jenner was called bold, courageous, and like it's glorified and fawned over. It's not a harder way of life.
They call Stormy Daniels a respectable woman.
Oh man, that's that's one of the things. Did you keep up with that? I don't even know if that.
Finish my Hitler thought.
All right, finish the Hitler
thought. This is like deep, Jamie. Right, you promise you won't think any less of me?
Yeah, I promise.
I don't know how you can promise to that. Milo did an interview, and Milo got me thinking. Whenever he's asked by women, I hope my son's gay, he always goes, no, you don't wish that. If I could be straight, I would be straight. Mm-hmm. If I could take a straight pill, do you think I'd take it? Of course I would take it. I want to be straight. You know how out of shape I was last year? I looked like just really bad.
Uh-huh.
And then after a year, I started to look almost human. It's going to be a long process, But do you think these Christians who say that they could maybe help with therapy, that they might actually get some results if it was actually taken seriously? And I mean, in a voluntary.
Oh, a lot of them do.
I don't mean electrocuting, but
Yeah.
actually have a look at homosexuality therapy.
I think it will.
Is that really such a far out?
No, it does. It does work for some people. Because again, it's a impulse and stuff, and we are in control of our impulses. We don't need to be controlled by them. But I mean, I would think you'd probably have about 70% success rate, because again, some of it will have to be the people who are led that way because of trauma. Some of them probably growing up fatherlessness. And then there will be the ones where, like I said, it's a hormonal issue that stems from when they were in utero. That will probably be the 30% that you can't set straight. But the trans thing, when they get young kids who think they're having gender dysphoria and get them into the right kind of therapy, 80% of them no longer feel as if they are the opposite gender. So that's one where you basically can have therapy type things. Now the funny thing is, in England recently, I don't know if you heard about the Pride Parade where the transgender activists and the lesbians were at odds, because the trans activists are trying to say a trans woman is a real woman. Now a trans woman would be a guy that's converted to a woman but most likely still has a dick. And their whole argument is they're saying that lesbians won't be with a woman with a penis because it must be because of childhood trauma, and it's, everything. Like, the trans activists have become the conservative Christians, thinking that it's all rooted in trauma and some sort of, this is why you don't want to suck a cock and, you'd rather be girl on girl or whatever.
If you went to LGBTQ, whatever it is, that pride thing, and said, can we have a conversation about homosexual therapy? Like, what would happen to you? Just to have a conversation about the idea of, is it even possible? Is it worth looking into?
I don't think the people that are at a pride parade
would get
have.
Killed,
yeah,
man.
you would get murdered. They would eat you alive and then probably rape you at the end of it.
So sad.
Yeah, it is.
But that shows how scary these people are, right? Like, I would be intimidated to do that. But any other group, I'd be intimidated to go. I wouldn't have a debate. I wouldn't feel. I could feel it get heated. Like, I went to the anti-Trump rally. I didn't feel in any way, shape, or form. I had some really shitty conversations with people. I didn't in any way feel threatened.
Yeah.
But I think if I went down to LGBTQ and just said, hey, anyone want to try my therapy program? And just to see if it works, I've got like an island for you, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see if we can turn you into one of them homosexuals.
I mean, it probably, like I said, you probably have about 60% success rate with something like that, but they're the ones that seem to be the most vicious of activists.
I don't think I would. I don't think I would have a 60%. I'd have 0. But someone that knows what they're doing might get some results.
But yeah, I was going to say
I went to Pride.
Uh-huh.
I went to Pride and I made a few comments about it, and people I think I kind of got through to some people, like my friends. I was like, what are they actually proud of? Where you stick your dick?
Yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, when's cis male pride? Like, when can I walk around Pride and get the council to pay for it, that I'm proud that I stick my dick in vagina stand?
Well, and that's one of the things that I've said that I think is interesting for people to think that's enough of a commonality to unite people over, because it's like,
well, where you have a preference to stick your dick. Is this really?
Well, because think about,
you're taking your kids to this.
Think about all the straight guys you don't get along with. Like, could you imagine just going up to another guy and being like, I like vagina, you like vagina, we could be friends? It's like, it takes a little more than that.
That's probably where it all went wrong.
Huh?
We should just go back to basics. Perhaps.
I just the one thing I was going to say though is as far as Milo saying if he could he would be straight, it's funny because I've seen in other interviews where people have asked him if they should come out or not, And he says, yeah, because you get treated like you're retarded, basically. You could get away with anything. And the best example of that is Kevin Spacey. Think about what Roseanne Barr said, and then think about the allegations at Kevin Spacey. And Kevin Spacey was just like, I'm gay. And everyone was like, oh, okay, I guess you molesting little boys is normal. Like,
Have you seen that YouTube channel, Lift the Dustbin Lid, Lift the Fell?
yeah, I've seen it before.
Fucking, sorry to swear, but remember that Chester Bennington stuff that all came up?
Uh-huh.
Turns out, do you remember the people that did the film Open Secret?
Yeah.
They put out a tweet and they showed some documents where they were working on a documentary and it was going to have the soundtrack from Linkin Park and Chris Cornell about smuggling children. They're like, this is like, it's open secret, like they are a very good resource into the paedophilia in Hollywood. They are.
Yeah.
They're accurate. They don't post crap. They also showed the slides for how they were going to do the documentary and just the right. They said it's pretty much done by the looks of it, it's ready to go. And then Lift the Dustbin Lid came out going that this proves that the Open Secret is controlled opposition.
You know,
First of all, he's going on about how Hampstead is real. Ooh, they're eating They actually thinks they're eating babies in McDonald's. Actually, what are you doing? So I've commented on that, like going, go back to basics. You think they're eating babies in McDonald's, and now you're calling it an Open Secret controlled opposition. That guy is full of shit, dude.
yeah.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling when I started seeing him do QAnon videos, which even Q, I think it's a complex thing. It's different people at different times and all of that, but it's like and then he did the interview with that Isaac Cappy person, which I don't know, has he been around anymore? Like, it seems like he was.
This is where we keep the children.
Yeah, it seems like he was the person of the week, and now I don't know where he's gone.
It's only so far you can go with it, isn't there?
Like, it's real interesting. I feel like the whole Hollywood pedophilia thing is like a dam, and it's like every time you think it's about to break open, nothing happens.
That's what Isaac Cappy was. There was loads of stuff going on, but all that attention straight to Isaac.
Yeah.
With his crazy shit. And all the people that want to, look at it for the first time, they look at Isaac Cappy and go, they're all nuts.
I mean, and it's like him coming out and being like, yeah, I was having dinner with Seth Rogen or what's the other one, Seth Green, and he turned to me and said, we need to talk about chicken. It's like, okay, all right, like, let's talk about the WikiLeaks where they're like, we'll have these kids for entertainment. Their ages are 7, 5, and 13 or whatever. It's like, that's a little more damning than we need to talk about chicken. Like,
I think Alex Jones nailed it. It's like you were brought up Pizzagate to them, and then they start having these conversations with you. They're trolling you.
yeah.
There's a serious chance of that. Now, maybe they are involved, but that stuff is still trolling. They can be involved and troll you at the same time. Oh, Jesus. I think you're on. I think you can call me crazy. Like, I'm going there. John Podesta's Chester's dad, man. I'm fucking telling you. I'm fucking telling you, Jamie. You can't be that similar looking. You can't.
I don't know.
You could literally put
Might
the
be.
photo over the photo, and it's like, the ears, the nose, is too much for me to take. And he did actually get rescued from a satanic child kiddie fucking lot.
He might be.
He did actually get abused by his real father and rescued by an NYPD cop. Man, just look at the two of them side by side. No way! Is that... And then did you see that?
I mean, you know what? Hold on. You know what makes me really apprehensive about that, though, is that there is a trend on YouTube of people making videos saying that Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber are the same person, or that Miley Cyrus and Justin Bieber are both transgender, or,
Now you mention it.
there's a crisis actor here, and then it's the same one there, and it's, like, I feel like that's a whole sort of subgenre niche of YouTube of
Well, every Hollywood actor used to be a man.
yeah, every
Jennifer
Hollywood
Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston's a man, but it's like everyone is, someone else, and now the people being related thing, there's legitimacy to that, where I've seen on genealogy sites weird things like Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears are related, or like Shania Twain is related to Taylor Swift, and like you basically leave with the impression that the whole Grammy award show is like a family reunion. Like they're all just distant cousins and stuff like that. Like Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are related. Huh?
I don't know what sort of family reunions you're going to.
No, well, I'm just saying, and like it's all their genealogy. Like even Angelina Jolie, they tried saying when she played Cleopatra in a movie that was whitewashing, but she's a descendant of Cleopatra. Like there's interesting stuff as far as the idea of like Illuminati bloodlines and those sort of spreading out into all of Hollywood and stuff. And so, I mean, that gives plausibility to the idea that Chester and Podesta could be related. But again, I feel like there's so many videos online of people saying these two people are the same person. This one used to be a man and now is this. Like, and just sort of trying to make people see things that could just be something a lot more simpler.
The last one I wanted, because I could go on Pizzagate for ages. Did you ever see that video where it's meant to be in Comet Ping Pong? You can't really see it. It's meant to be Podesta abusing a child. And then someone did a voice analyst, checked it with him having a go at a reporter, and it's like a really similar, it's like the same voice pretty much.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, we'll check that out when you get a chance. I could probably find it for you. You want me to find it for you?
Yeah, sure.
Or do you want to move on? It's pretty creepy. Like it fucked me up when I watched it.
Did you, speaking of creepy, did you check out that those Vox Day videos I had sent you?
Not yet.
He did a new one about Jordan Peterson where he reads a passage out of Maps of Meaning, and he says the thing about people who follow Jordan Peterson is none of them have read his books, because some of the things in his books are wild. Like, he constantly has dreams about incest with his female family members, and one of them is the story about...
Hang on, that's quite... What?
In Jordan Peterson's books, like Maps of Meaning, there's a whole part where he talks about a dream he had where he sees his grandma naked, stroking her pubic hair like a paintbrush, then she starts rubbing it in his face, and just like...
But then again, to be fair, I've had those dreams, kind of.
I mean, it's just like... I don't know.
You say you've never had dreams about family members sexually, even if it is weird.
There's just a lot of stuff, and like the thing is Jordan Peterson got brought in by the UN to sort of dispel pedophilia and stuff like that in certain levels of, I think, the government, or I don't remember the details on that, but it's part of the work he did with the UN, and it's like, I don't know, there's something off about him.
Someone on their dreams, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think there's enough stuff he says normally too. Like, there's
I think you should be putting it in a book, though.
There's a bit he had said about where Vox was pointing out, like, he's redefined truth, he's redefined God, and then he shows a clip of him talking to Joe Rogan where he basically redefines water, or attempts to, where he's like, yeah, well, I drink water or seltzer sometimes, and Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan's like, well, seltzer's water too, and Jordan Peterson does his usual evasive, well, I don't know, not really. That's interesting. Like, and it's like, no, fucking seltzer is water. Like, what are you talking about? There's something off about him. Like, he has good to contribute.
He did learn a lot from them, but...
Yeah, no, that's the thing. He is intelligent, and Vox doesn't deny that.
Like, I think sometimes we expect a messiah out of everybody. It's not like a messiah complex.
Yeah.
That they have to be perfect.
Well, and Vox even says that, where he's like, if people came out and said, listen, Jordan Peterson is a little nutty, but, as far as this point, that point, and the next point, he's dead on, and, but it's the thing is that people are looking at him like he's some sort of cultural messiah figure and stuff like that. And it's just...
The same with Joe Rogan. Like, I love Joe Rogan, but some of the stuff I don't like. Griff doesn't mean I have to like boycott. It's like this.
Yeah, no.
If there's just one issue, you've got to just boycott YouTube. It's just. I think it has something to do with people's attention spans as well. You know.
I mean, I feel that way about Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin, where they both have really interesting guests on, but neither of them really have anything interesting themselves to say. But they're really good as far as interviewing people and walking them through, you know, laying out their cases for certain issues and stuff like that.
You know, when I said, like, this is where I've been smoking too much weed, but I just had a thought in my head from you talking. Like, at some point, they're going to be able to upload our consciousness, right, or our, like, thoughts. They can certainly read them through scans, right?
Yeah.
And even tell you what you're thinking. Like, by 2040, if they can do that, imagine if people can read your dreams, man. How fucked are you going to be?
I feel like
You can't even control that.
I feel like there is a way for them to do that already.
Well, oh, shit. Can you imagine if they're doing that, man? Like, they're just like, and they do it like on the slide for your iPhone, and you leave it next to your, next to your sleep, and they're just there, like downloading what you're thinking. It's just like fucking your mum and shit.
Oh man.
Do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like maybe, like I can control my dreams. I don't know about you, but I'm a lucid dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I figure out I'm asleep, it's like, oh, we can do some crazy stuff, like kill myself, like jump over a cliff or something, or like shoot up something. I've been getting sadistic in my dreams. It's like, oh, it's a dream. Let's get a bit sadistic, man.
Yeah, and you can just free reign to do whatever you want.
Grand Theft Auto, man. And then you see how long you can do it until you wake up.
A friend of mine was really good with that, and his thing was he would always want to like fly around like he's Superman or something.
Yeah, do stuff that. Yeah, but you do that all the time. So, can you not lucid dream?
I don't ever remember my dreams, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember about 60% of them. Well, I don't remember 60% of them, but 60% of the time I wake up, I have a memory of one of the plots and storylines that went on. I can like re-see it again.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be that apparently weed isn't a proper sleep, so maybe it's because I'm so stoned.
Well, that's one of the things. If
really
I don't
going.
smoke weed before bed, I'll have really bugged out dreams. So it's like
If you don't,
yeah.
or you did.
If I don't. So it's like I almost even just smoke weed just to suppress whatever weirdness I'm going to experience during my rest.
All right. Some
But
bad news, guys.
What's that?
Whew. Even my parents are getting concerned now. London's a shithole. It's getting worse.
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't think it could get much worse after all the acid attacks and those becoming semi-regular.
We're getting about 3 stabbings a day.
Turning into the
Yeah,
third
acid
world.
Attacks, shootings. You're about 3 or 4 brutal street murders a day.
That's so crazy. It's hard to imagine that in like a big touristy kind of metropolitan area like that it would get like that.
And still there's no like conversation about it. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest problem, even in like little stuff. Like my mom was talking about the local school board and stuff at brunch this morning, and they're like the school board's MO is supposed to be to get the graduation rate higher, and they put in this new rule where it's like if you're 10 minutes late for class, that counts as an absence, and if you're absent more than 11 times, you fail the class. And it's like, okay, that's not going to help anyone graduate. That's just going to make it harder for them to do that. And she was saying how, like, the whole city should be outraged, but none of them pay attention to the politics of what goes on in the local school, so no one knows about it. Can't be outraged about what you don't know. But then again, you know, depending on the issue, most people just end up in denial anyway.
Another great story was, well, I haven't actually seen the footage. Apparently there's that moon landing movie, and what they've done is just removed the American flag from the landing.
Yeah. Well, their excuse for that is to make it sellable to a global audience or whatever. You know, I had said it in my video about Marilyn Manson, and it still kind of weirds me out. I'm sure you probably feel the same way to some extent. When you first heard about the New World Order, wasn't it generally coming from Republicans like George Bush and all of them?
First time I heard about the New World Order was Alex Jones, and I thought he was completely nuts.
But then you saw footage, I'm sure, of the Bushes being like, we need a new
Yeah.
world order, the new world order.
Yeah.
And like, never would I have thought, even after realizing the left-right paradigm is an illusion, is that the open borders, global citizenship against nationality and all that would be the Bush family's New World Order concepts, but all being enacted by radical leftists and liberals and everyone on the other side of the aisle, basically.
I'm being molested by a giant spider.
Nah.
We'll try and tempt him in the corner. Why do you have to hang around here for? Like, are you actually nuts? Fuck off. Now don't come this way. Well, it's coming closer. Do you mind if I just quickly do it off a spider, Jamie?
Yeah. Do what you gotta do.
You keep them inside. I don't like killing them, that's the thing.
But yeah, like I was saying, it's just really surprising that the whole New World Order agenda that seemed to be set forth and put in place by Republicans, it ends up being enacted by the liberals on the foot soldier level. Speaking of which, I suppose this is a good way to tie into the death of John McCain. Because John McCain, you know, like they were celebrating him as if he was anything helpful to anyone. Like, I don't know what the issue is with him, where like his whole record is like checkered past, prisoner of war, but you know, they think he was actually helping the Vietnamese. Then when it came to the records about all the people that were killed over where he was just captured and tortured, he blocked the families from getting the records, him chilling with ISIS in the Middle East. Like, the only thing he ever promoted was war. But now you have all these peace-loving liberals that are all like, John McCain was the greatest Republican ever. And it's like, you guys were treating him the same way as Trump up until the moment he died. Now, the interesting conspiracy theory, I guess Q had hinted at this in some way, was that John McCain was actually given the death penalty for treason, and that they've just allowed the media to say that it was this whole brain cancer thing and all of that.
Run that by me again.
QAnon, I guess, has put forth the idea that John McCain, because what they did is they stopped his like brain cancer treatment, and then like the next day he was dead. QAnon has said that what actually happened was he was given the death penalty for treason and being a traitor, and that the media has just sort of put forth the brain cancer narrative as a cover. Because remember too, there was the thing with him having the leg brace and people thinking it was to cover an ankle monitor while he was on trial.
Right, yeah, something weird's going on my computer. I'm so sorry, that's so rude.
It's alright.
It was super bizarre. So I did a Jamie. You do that a lot.
Pretty much.
Well, there's a couple of things I want to hit. It's so random. But this ISIS compound should be uno numero. This is the problem with Alex Jones. It's been hit hard. Because how I used to follow Alex Jones is you're looking at 12 hours of broadcast a day or something crazy. So when people upload and re-upload, it's handy when they have handy titles. And you can just sometimes catch a guest like Gavin McInnes. It's like,
Yeah.
oh cool, Gavin and Alex, gotta watch that. or it's like, Alex and Stefan Molyneux, great combination. But I feel like we're missing that now because it's so hard getting it uploaded.
Yeah.
But the Mexican compound should be this story is absolutely insane.
Well, now that I think about it, which state was John McCain senator of? Was it Arizona or New Mexico?
The problem you got with John McCain is he's dead. You can't look. I don't know if you've noticed. I sound corny. I just don't want to speak ill of the dead.
No, and I agree with that too.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just.
No, I agree with that too.
Anymore,
And I've said that, because I saw liberals celebrating when Justice Scalise died.
Like celebrating people's deaths.
Me neither. Like I'm fine saying I'm glad his political influence has left, and I wish it happened on other circumstances. I wish he just removed himself from politics and retired somewhere. But it's still there's still a checkered past, and I'm sure some evil doings that he was a part of that are still yet to come to light because he was helping and aiding Obama with stuff. Whether it was
the classic for me, if you want to go, is just this stuff where he had photos with him and ISIS.
Yeah, well, and that's why I was just asking. I wonder which I forget which state that training compound was in, and I wonder if that's the state he was senator of, because I wonder if he not necessarily helped them set it up, but sort of turned a blind eye to them.
My mum and dad watch a lot of BBC. So there's lots of stuff like debunking conspiracy theories. I asked them to follow that story, like I was doing my QAnon stuff to my mum. I was learning from QAnon, I do it to my mum. And she was like, it does prove that the government probably do inside jobs.
Yeah.
And when we're talking inside jobs, we're talking shooting up a school. Aren't we really?
Well,
we're shooting up a hospital.
And what is it? Operation Northwoods, or I don't know if
it's just the most depraved of terror acts if you're going to do them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Operation Northwoods or one of those, but there's one where
a couple. Operation Northwoods and Operation Gladio was one.
Yeah, where it says
actually happened.
Shoot up soft targets and then blame your political enemies and stuff. Now the other interesting thing too is while we're talking about false flags and everything, I think it's interesting to say the least that they choose to shut Alex Jones down really over the Sandy Hook thing. That's the thing. That's their sacred cow. Like, I haven't heard anyone take issue with him discussing any other, not the Boston bombing, not 9/11, not any of those.
9/11 was one of them. It was a couple of things. It was 9/11, Sandy Hook. Turning the Frogs Gay was one of them. They said that's not true. This is BBC. They listed 5 reasons why he was knocked off.
Mm-hmm.
It was 9/11 was an inside job, the Frogs are gay, Sandy Hook. It could have been Bohemian Grove,
Yeah.
Could have been Bohemian Grove, which of course it doesn't exist.
I
think they do that on. Oh mate, fuck. I watched Enemy of the State with Will Smith in it. Boy, is that film fucked up.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Enemy of the State's the one with Will Smith where his mate sees the FBI do a murder and he's got it on tape. And he gives the tape to Will Smith and he becomes enemy of the state. And they use all this surveillance to get him. They track everywhere he goes and they use satellites to look at his car, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So in Google Enemy of the State, you'll recognise it. The bad guy in that, his birthday was 9/11. And that film is a conspiracy film. If you watch the reviews into Wikipedia, into like IDM, they say this is a conspiracy film. That conspiracy believes that you can do phone hacking, they can do this, they can do that. And you think, this is 1998.
Speaking of...
then in the film, someone hands Will Smith a watch, and the time's 3:22. And it's a Casio. The watches are called Elimination or something. It says Elimination 322, which is obviously Skull and Bones.
Yeah. Well,
Let's run through this again. What I'm seeing on a film, Enemy of the State, which is all about Edward Snowden in a way that it's not true, it's a conspiracy. Will Smith crazy guy. And in a way, Will Smith is a sheep. He doesn't believe that the government would spy on him all the way through the film. It's like, oh, they wouldn't do that, they wouldn't do that. Which is kind of like, it's just like predicted program. It was all there. What are the chances that this guy's birthday, that they show up? They do this scene, you know, where they do like, you see like a computer screen doing like all the ID checks on somebody, like their profile picture, where they work. It had that. And a guy that worked for like the top security in America, like CIA, Secret Service, all this crap. Birthday's 9/11, the evil guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got them handing Casio Illuminati watches or whatever, luminous watches, with 322 on the time. And then there's a building that blows up. And it's just like, is that just me, or is that like?
Well, I mean,
how many 9/11 predictive programs have you seen?
I was gonna say I've seen tons of them. I've seen videos where they compile them all. You know, whether it be The Simpsons.
And those videos go on for 20 minutes.
Yeah, they definitely do. Trying to think, what was I gonna say? I feel like I don't remember if it had to do with a movie. There was surveillance stuff.
Well, this Mexico compound, like I went off a bit, but so you got this Islamist there, and they've ended up killing a child that was reported missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the FBI just flattened the place, destroy all the evidence, and let them go on bail.
Yeah. Trying to think, what was I about to say? You know, I saw the Snowden movie recently, and I think it's funny that one girl is in it, Shaylee Woodley or something like that, playing Edward Snowden's girlfriend. And in the movie, there's this whole part about Obama getting elected and them thinking Obama's going to change things and the illegal spying stuff and all that, and he doesn't. And then in real life, though, this girl is like super liberal, ultra, you know, stop the pipelines, let's respect the indigenous people, like America has stolen Native American land and this and that. And it's like, you did a movie about how the two-party system is just here to screw everyone. Like, why are you going along with its narratives? Like, you'd think you'd be a little more aware of what's going on with things.
The other thing that comes to mind is the Pope is going to have to stand down, isn't he?
He might. Now, it's interesting, you know, the media coverage on all this stuff. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. As far as conspiracy theory stuff, you want to hear something real interesting? At my other job, you know, I work with people having mental health issues and stuff. I've encountered my first person who believes they're the victim of gang stalking.
You've met someone who's a victim of gang stalking?
Well, they claim they are. I've spoken to them. I haven't met them in person.
Yeah,
but
I've kind of met two.
But a lot of their examples of thinking things were happening were like, I went to the supermarket and they were all out of my favorite juice and they said it was discontinued, but I called the corporation and they said that it's not. And it's like, okay, well, the store could just not be stocking it anymore. Like, it's things that didn't really seem like gang stalking, but more just this person has it in their head that that's happening to them, and if something ever doesn't go their way, it's and I asked them that. I said, are you accounting any room for error? I said, because when you come to the cops and you say you're being stalked and there are people breaking into your house and moving furniture and they want to take you away to a mental institution, I think some of the times the cops are functioning out of ignorance and incompetence rather than being evil and part of the conspiracy. Like, it could be they're just being stupid rather than being complicit. Once I said that, she accused me of being a government agent in on the gang stalking. And it's like the old saying, when you're a hammer, everything becomes a nail.
The thing you've got to be careful with that is one of the people who was a gang stalker that I knew is definitely being gang stalked. I don't know who by or why, but what could happen is, imagine if you were actually being gang stalked and you did for sure have the chips in you, like not one chip but a couple of chips,
Yeah,
would you not go a bit crazy?
I would.
So that's the problem. Like he says crazy shit, but I think is that because he was crazy before the gang stalking, or the gang stalking caused him to be crazy?
I think it's probably with some of these people a mix of both. I think they probably target people with mental illness just to make it easier.
Right. Or cause them to be mentally ill first, yeah, for a bit.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I kept trying to tell her is I said, listen, I don't blame you for being skeptical of me or the cops or anyone else. I'm just wondering if there's ever a point where you go to yourself and you say, sometimes I might be wrong when I think everything is the result of, because again, the supermarket's out of your favorite juice and that means you're gang stalked. Well, then what doesn't? Like, there's legitimate concerns and then there's ones that are just very far-fetched.
What has she got anything that is like make you think, oh, it could be true? Is there anything in there or?
Not that I heard. I mean, even the other thing was she said, oh, you know, the other day I was making dinner for my dog. I wanted to get to the library. I did this, this, and that. And next thing I knew, 3 hours went by and I lost time. And I'm like...
Yeah, that's quite yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah.
Well, I'm like, that's the story of my life. I want to do like A, B, and C. I get started with A and I'm not keeping track of time. And next thing I know, the whole day goes by. Like... That's just what happens when you're busy. Time seems to move faster. It's not that you're losing time. I mean, if you're doing one thing and next thing you know, you're conscious in another room and you don't know how you got to the other room, then I think you have a cause for concern. But if you can remember the whole time period, but time seems to have just escaped you, like that happens. That happens to me every day at work when we're busy. I get in at noon, next thing I know, I look at the clock and it's 3.
Yeah, but does she have any chips in her that she claims?
No, and I asked her about that. I said, what about, you know, electromagnetic radiation? What about, you know, hearing voices other than your own? Nope. But they don't have my favorite juice.
Yeah, because for me, like this guy... When we ran a metal detector down his back, there is something in the spine. And then we went to doctors to get it out, and they were just like, get the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And then this other lady said she had one in her arm, and they did actually pull that out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People have it where it's I mean, where they'll find lumps. Like, there's one... my friend Marissa was telling me about a guy she knew that left a bar drunk. Next thing you know, he woke up alongside the middle of a road and went to the shower the next day and found things like underneath his skin in his leg and went to the doctors, had them removed, and they were like little metal, kind of shrapnel looking things. Like, didn't know how they got there or what, but they could have been chips or some sort of tracking thing. I mean, we know they have this technology. They've been saying for like 20 years now you could get a chip under your skin.
You can buy electronic low-frequency weapons on eBay, pretty cheap.
Yeah.
If you type that in, electronic low-frequency on eBay.
I haven't done it on eBay, but I'm not surprised that you can buy them.
No, it's not even expensive.
Well, and that's the other thing too, where it's like, if something like that was going on, you wonder, like, which branch of government is it? Have they opened up, like, their own division of this? Like, I mean, you know it's bad, though. I'm a conspiratorial type person, but when I'm doubting you, like, you've obviously said something where I think it's not just what you think it is. Or even, like I said, some of it could have been true with her, but some of the examples I heard, I just... You know, the other one was... when she was at the supermarket, someone keyed her car. Now, she said the scratch marks washed off the next time it went to the car wash, so I don't know how keyed up it was. But she went in, asked security for the footage, someone took her information, but they never got back to her. So then she goes to the store and is looking for a certain employee, and everyone's telling her no one works here by that name. So she imagined some sort of Men in Black government agent came into the supermarket, consulted with all of their employees. That's where it gets far-fetched. Is she thinks that the government agents are colluding with businesses like the pharmacy or the supermarket, and that her interactions at the supermarket with the employees there are signs of the gang stalking. I mean, and then when I say something very simple to her, like, you know, the reason the supermarket didn't get back to you is they're in the business of selling groceries and not solving the mystery of who keyed your car, and their surveillance cameras outside the store are pointed at the doors, not the parking lot. They're there to catch people stealing, not to see. They're not tape recording hours worth of cars in a parking lot.
Well, the person that I knew, he said that he was a super soldier. So he would have all these that he would just wake up in the middle.
Was
of
it the guy with the dreadlocks you tried introducing me to? John,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and then he was the bodyguard for President Obama over the weekend, and Rihanna was there. So pretty weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think he seemed far more credible than the person I'm talking about.
Yeah, but what do I do when he's talking about uncredible stuff? Like, I just can't release the interview, can I? Because it's not for his own good, is it, really? Because if I'm not buying it,
Yeah.
I kind of just feel like I'm using him if I just put it out there. I think some bits are true and I think some bits are out there. But the thing that's interesting with him is I did just ask him straight. I was like, oh, are you just nuts? Like, are you just fucking nuts? Like, are you aware? Do you think it's just you being nuts, or do you think it's really happening? Like, how do you know which one's which? And he was like, honest. He goes, I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder.
How can you be upset with me that I don't believe you were a bodyguard to Obama? I mean,
The thing with me that I was going to say is what was I going to say about people being nuts?
I think I'm in trouble, right?
As far as,
You know, I called that guy a pedo.
mm-hmm.
I put his photo on my Facebook page, going, oh, look at this guy. Looks like sort of guy. If you imagine, I said what I said. You know, if you imagine what a pedo would look like, probably like something like this. Now I can't do anything to my Facebook account. I can't delete my account. I can't delete any posts. I can't do anything.
That's so funny.
I
Facebook
think it's reported it.
Big Brother, yup, probably.
Fucking hell.
But the thing I was gonna say, as far as the people and being nuts and all that stuff, is like, you know, I've always thought with conspiracy theories like the Boston bombing or Sandy Hook or anything like that, that the government puts out multiple fake narratives to just act as rabbit holes for people to endlessly go down. And if they were really gang stalking someone and driving them crazy and had like implants in them and sort of futuristic high-tech technologies, I would think they would try to implant false memories and hope that they can't differentiate between the real ones and the fake ones.
My computer's fucking weird, mate. Should I stop being distracted? There's nothing I can do about it, is there? Do you think that was harsh, me doing that? He was taking a piss out of me, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think as far as
Taking a
that
piss
whole
out of me.
thing, I mean, the people watching this won't know what we're talking about, but just basic interaction of someone trying to bait you into admitting to be something that they can then smear their labels onto. Like, I thought it was really
no,
funny.
It's not that. How big am I, Jamie?
Not very big.
Why is someone that big? How big is he compared to me?
Probably like double the size, I would say.
Yeah, double. And what does he do? Kickboxing. And he's acting like he's a tough guy. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, asking you if you're an anti-Semite or... And, you know, the far-right thing, like I said, over here, far-right is basically a euphemism for...
I don't really know what it means. I mean, does it mean... It can mean so much.
It's weird because the term only gets used to mean, like, quote-unquote Nazi, but it's not actually people that believe in Nazism. Like, it's just what they think for like white supremacist or something like that. So
The reason it gets mixed with Nazism, I think, is because the idea is it's one collective, that it has to be something in common. And then they say, well, that's what Hitler wanted. It's like, well, no, what they mean is more like capitalism has to be the model.
yeah,
Everyone has to be capitalist. But the thing is I don't think I think, well, I'll tell you a joke, right? When I was going down the shops thinking about it, I probably am anti-Semitic though. Even though I am Jewish, thinking about it. Like, I don't wave a flag for Judaism. Like, I'm not out there to get them. But
Yeah.
I don't think altogether it's such a great idea.
well, you're not a Jewish supremacist, which I mean, in whether people want to admit it or not, when you have an ideology that says we are God's chosen people, that's a bit of a supremacy idea. Now, how you choose to act upon that or the attitudes in which you live your life with that in mind, that's where the problems would arise. But it's, I don't know. I think there's like Jewish people that aren't like, it's like that's where the term Zionist kind of comes in.
Yeah, but I think if I think of Zionists, I think the first thing I think of is what was the declaration called? The Balfour Declaration, whatever it's called. That was the thing that created Israel.
Yeah.
And that was between one of the royal family and the Rockefellers. Then I think of Bush. I think of Dick Cheney. I think of Ben Netanyahu. I don't think of people with hats and beards and I think I do want a Jewish state in Israel. Yeah, I do. But that by no means think that I think I support an Israeli state. They're confusing two things with wanting a Jewish state and then thinking, well, Israel is the Jewish state. It's like, no, that's the last thing Jews need as a state. So I just think you're just throwing. It's what Jordan Peterson does get right. You're just trying to get people into identity politics.
Yeah.
I think if anything, my politics are quite simple. I mean, I'm not an anarchist. I don't know if I'm that far, but yeah, just the little government as possible.
Yeah. And I tell people that, and it weirds them out, because they're like, well, what about when bad things happen? I'm like, bad things only happen at the hand of government, and when you have as little of a government as possible.
What bad things do you mean?
Like genocides and wars and, things to that extent. Things that result in mass casualties.
Yeah, but you want limited government, so you want to protect the border. You do want a government for that. You want them to have some kind of police system.
Well, now I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves, especially when I watch the Young Turks, whose, I guess, numbers are declining and they're laying people off left and right. But they'll go, socialism, like schools and police and firefighters. And it's like, those are all local municipalities. Those are handled locally. You don't need a giant federal government reigning over the 50 states.
Handled it, wouldn't it? If you've got a business in the area, you put the money into school, and the reason you do it is you get first dabs when they come out of school, and then they're actually learning stuff that they're going to apply to the work in.
I mean, it's sort of like the same thing with, when before we had the giant federal government and all these like wild infrastructure bills and stuff like that, the people who paid for the roads to be paved were the businessmen who wanted to ship their product from point A to point B. I mean, why do you think Rockefeller and all of them were involved in the railroads? Because they wanted to ship their products. I mean, but now we tax everyone when it's like we had a system where the 1% were paying for these things before because the 1% had the most to gain from the things.
Fuck's sake.
I just think it's
I'm pissed off that I posted a photo of someone calling me pedo, and now everyone's like reported it.
I was gonna say it's getting wild over in America with.
Is that not funny? What I said? Can you not see that's funny?
Yeah. I mean, I almost think, it's like if you get so worked up over something like that, if it's a joke, you shouldn't. If there's something to it, who knows?
No, but don't you think it's funny when the small guy starts fighting back?
Well, yeah, they don't expect it.
It's kind of funny, right? It's like, you're going to call me scrawny, shitty, and a wimp. surely I can call you like you look like a pedo in your profile picture. Maybe you should take care of that rather than obsessing over how I look.
And you didn't even say that.
Isn't that funny?
And you didn't even
Well,
say
am I a cunt? No, Jamie, sometimes I get out of line. Like, I might be in a cunt.
No, you didn't even say he was one. You just said he looks like one.
I said if I imagined what one would look like jerking off and letting a load off on a computer, that image of your profile picture isn't a million miles away from it. That's comedy.
Yeah, it's far more comedic than...
And then I said this profile picture looks like something out of Catching a Predator.
That's funny. That's really funny. I was gonna say, it's far more comedic than, like, James Gunn's tweets and stuff like that.
If I overstepped the mark there, it's pretty close to the mark, but...
Yeah, but I guarantee you they're just gonna, like you said, block it, report it.
That's another 30-day block.
Yep. Pretty much.
Why am I so racist, Jamie?
I don't know. I was gonna say, you know, I think it's interesting. I don't know if you've kept up with the Russian probe over here, but the Russia probe turned into the Stormy Daniels probe, which turned into the Cohen probe, and now it's like they've got Cohen on campaign finance stuff that's like irrelevant to everything.
Flying in or out of England.
Who?
Stormy Daniels.
Who? I don't know.
Yeah, something happened. Where
she's not even part of the story anymore.
Out of England, mate. She came on Celebrity Big Brother, I think. Well, I don't quite know, so I don't follow this crap. But then she wanted all these demands.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm a single mom, I need a room by myself so I can Skype my kids, need to do this, need to do that. Like, because she is a proper important lady, so she's got a lot of demands. And Big Brother, oh, just fuck this, just go home. So because she didn't fulfill her contract, she broke her work visa.
Ah, yeah.
But then England said, right, get out.
The thing I think about is it just makes it seem...
I can't leave because it looked like I've been deported. It's like, you have been deported.
Yeah, right? I just think it's funny because it's like, now you know why Obama killed all of his exes, or had all of them murdered in Chicago. Like... There were like three gay black men at the church, Reverend Wright's church that Obama was at, and all of them.
Like how many people get deported from England? I mean, we've got the hook hand guy here. He hasn't been deported.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, at least
Adam Chowdhury, he hasn't been deported yet. ISIS preacher.
I was gonna say it puts
Stormy Daniels.
It almost gives Stormy Daniels credibility because it puts her on a list with like Lauren Southern and Michael Savage and like. You know, it almost helps her case.
Yeah.
That's too funny though that she violated that visa and got kicked out.
When the Pope stands down, like Leo Sagami predicted he'll stand down before Christmas.
Oh yeah, I forgot he predicted that.
Yeah, and he is accurate.
Yeah.
And if that's true, that's it. The Vatican's over, right? You can't come back from that.
I don't know.
When he came through Ireland, there's videos of him. He came to Ireland in his bulletproof bubble car.
Uh-huh.
And there was no one on the streets. Like, no one.
Well, you know what I think is really funny? I saw Ben Shapiro, and you know, he's another one that I take some issues with, but I think is what he does overall is good. He was talking about how it's very interesting, and he was reading off different articles from like the New York Times about it and everything, where they're basically covering for the Pope because they agree with him on social agenda stuff, like the Pope being against climate change and pro-Islam and pro-open borders. And I mean, because he stands on his line is, you know, all the typical leftist liberal talking point stuff, they're defending him and saying, you know, it's unfair to say he covered up for this or whatever. And like, he gets a pass, but you know, if it was any other pope, they would have his face on every magazine cover, like making a huge deal out of it.
Jeff Burks put a post on Facebook. I'm not even allowed to like it. I'm such a terrorist. When will I stop?
You're
the thing is,
a thought criminal.
Whether you like it or not, I mean, YouTube and Facebook and I don't know what else, Twitter, is where people get their news from. It is. I don't think people really do go to TV to get their news. I don't think they take it from newspapers. It's about people sharing news articles and stuff. And the people that control Facebook, I'm not saying this is a good idea or a bad idea. It sounds like a bit of a bad idea to me. They microdose on LSD.
Mm.
The people that are like the truth movement and like, you know, the fact checkers, they take LSD daily for years.
I thought it was interesting. I saw a debate where they were talking about the algorithms.
What else do you need to know about them?
Yeah,
Do you
right.
need to know their political views? Now, does their political views matter? Does it matter? I mean, they don't even know what day it is.
Yeah. I was watching a thing where Rahid Kassam, who used to be at Breitbart, was debating two of these cryptography,
It's
cybersecurity people. And it's funny because they were saying how the algorithms bring the most popular sensationalist stuff to the front, but we don't know what the algorithms really do. And he called them out. He said, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you don't know what's going on with the algorithms, but you know that they're doing X, Y, and Z. He said, and besides that, the whole thing about the algorithms is someone's programming them. Like, someone has to code the algorithms. Like, they're not just magically put in place. But it's kind of like, I see it being the same thing the liberals do when there's an issue they don't really want fixed, like, police brutality. They'll end up coming out and being like, it's systemic, it's society, it's, all of this stuff that's way too big to deal with, and individual responsibility is out the window. And it's just sort of the same thing with that, where they want to put it on the mysterious algorithms rather than the people who are actually programming them. And there's so much Project Veritas videos of them admitting to having biases and stuff.
I want to repeat again, Leo Sagami's saying that the Vatican, the Pope's going to have to stand down, and that's going to be the collapse. What's going to happen with, we're already seeing like this war on Christianity, like everything comes, whether it's Christian values for sure. What's going to be left to stand? Like, what's going to happen when Islam starts taking down churches in Europe? Like, who's going to be there to stop it? Who's going to be there to promote family values?
No one. Well, I mean, this Pope is barely even promoting family values.
Yeah, it just seems like it's always been right that there's been this paedophile takeover. They've got their hands on it.
Well, could you imagine?
I know everyone shits on the Catholic Church, but surely wiping it out altogether is going to have.
Well, and that's
I don't know how I'm defending.
I was just about to say that. Like, could you imagine if it's like, instead of the Catholic Church as a whole standing up to the pedophile scandals, could you imagine it crumbling underneath the weight of them? Like, pedophilia takes down Catholicism? Like, oh my God, we would be in Sodom and Gomorrah instantly. Islam would just then overtake everything. It would be a scary, scary place.
It's crazy times, man.
Yeah. It really is.
Right.
Well, anyway, I think we should probably wrap it up. We're a little over an hour.
Do you know there was a shooting in San Marino
No.
last night?
Wait.
Yesterday.
Last night?
Yesterday, yeah. 10 injured, some serious.
Where was that again?
San Bernardino. That was the same place where they had that office shooting, remember?
Yeah. Out in California.
Over a Christmas party or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder if it's, again, a sort of terrorism place, terrorism activity that's going to get chalked up to workplace violence or whatever it was.
I got one more story, two more stories that roll into one.
Okay.
This is horrible. And you're going to have to get this article up for me. There's two of them. One of them was this woman who's proud because she's had 3 abortions. And she's not that old.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, how liberating it is. Let me see if I can find it. And I I was reading it, and she goes travelling. She goes, I met this sexy guy, and I've got to carry a backpack. I couldn't carry the weight of a condom.
What?
And I've got sympathy for women that had an abortion once, but she's had it 3 times.
Yeah.
I think it was a lifestyle article. LifeSite News, 23-year-old brags about having 3 abortions. But
That's
accidentally
nuts.
admit it killed her babies. Have you seen that headline? Have you read it? It's
No.
terrifying. They wonder why men are MGTOW.
Yeah, right?
That article is it. Just reading it is just amazing. Are you on it?
No, what's the name of it? I'll try to pull it up without losing you.
A 23-year-old brags about having 3 abortions. It's amazing. It's one of the best articles you'll ever read.
23-year-old brags about having 3 abortions, but actually admits it killed her babies.
And if you scroll down, she goes through all the pregnancies that she had and how she got pregnant. And I think, is it here?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to read it. It just made me feel ill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, that Michelle Wolf show, that when it was her celebrating abortion, that made even a lot of liberals who were pro-life really disgusted.
But isn't this the argument for healthcare, right? How much did that cost?
I don't know.
I don't think she paid for it.
No, probably the government.
Or her healthcare, yeah. Her Obamacare.
Yeah. But, alright, let's wrap
Here
things
we
up.
go.
At
age 19, I took a 3-week journey on a Pacific Coast trail. I did this on my own. Loved it. On the trail, I found another hiker, a guy who was traveling solo. Long story short, we had sex. Sadly, I had no condom with me. My backpack already weighed 49 pounds.
Nah.
And then there's this other article that's kind of linked to it. Where now, when you're not allowed to, in the UK, when you interview a woman, you can't ask certain questions. I don't know if you've got that in America. You can't ask a woman if she plans to get married.
I don't
You
know.
can't ask if she plans to have kids. If you do, she can sue you.
That's nuts.
So what's going to happen to women then? If let's say you are doing a job interview, you've got CVs, you can tell the men from the women, right? Because I think you're not allowed to put names on there now or your age on a CV. You can obviously fucking figure it out. So if the boss is in that situation, who's got any brain power, it's not going to interview any women.
Yeah.
And then let's say you are a woman and you do want to get married and you do want to have kids. If he can't ask, you can't negotiate for the job.
Yeah.
So let's say he did ask. The reason he's asking might be because if you just let me know, we could probably find a way of fitting it in. Perhaps you might be able to do that. But I just don't get it at all. And then you think, if you're trying to run a business, say me and you have got a business, right, in the UK, and then we need to employ a woman, because we've only got one person on board, if she goes pregnant on us, it is kind of like a problem.
Yeah. Alright, well, I have to get going because I have to pee so bad.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here doing the little kid, I gotta go dance. So,
Right.
alright, let's do this again next week.
Yeah, there's also been baseball bats and chainsaw attacks as well, but we'll save them for next week.
Alright, I'll talk to you
Alright,
later,
catch you
man.
later, man.
Alright, take care.